I saw what's happening in the kitchen with your wife. Stay away from her.
The phone rang at 3:47 a.m., jolting me awake from another sleepless night spent reviewing quarterly reports. I'd been CEO of North Tech Solutions for 8 years, building it from a 2-person startup in my garage to a 50-employee company worth $12 million. Insomnia came with the territory, but lately it felt different, heavier. Mr. North? The voice was shaky, nervous. This is Danny from Secure Home Systems. I installed your security cameras yesterday. Danny, it's almost 4 in the morning. What's wrong? Sir, I need you to listen carefully. I'm deleting footage from your system right now. Forever. Get your kids and leave the house immediately. My blood went cold. What the hell are you talking about? What I saw on your kitchen camera at 3 a.m. made me physically sick. I've been in this business for 15 years and I've never... Sir, please stay away from your wife. The line went dead. I sat there in the darkness of my home office, listening to my wife Lena's soft breathing from our bedroom down the hall. We'd been married for 12 years, high school sweethearts who'd built what everyone called the perfect life in Millbrook, Massachusetts. 2 kids, Emma and Jake, ages 10 and 8. A colonial house with white picket fence, the American dream. But dreams, I was about to learn, can rot from the inside. My hands trembled as I opened the security app on my phone. The footage from 3 a.m. was already gone, but there were other clips. I scrolled through the night's recordings, my heart pounding harder with each swipe. Then I saw it. 2:47 a.m. Kitchen camera. Lena, in the silk nightgown I'd bought her for our anniversary, wrapped around a man who definitely wasn't me. Brandon Wolf, the flashy real estate mogul who'd been sniffing around our social circle for months. They weren't just kissing. They were doing things on my granite countertops that made my stomach lurch. But it was what I heard that truly destroyed me. When are you going to leave him? Brandon's voice clear as day through our expensive audio system. Soon. Alex is so focused on his precious company, he doesn't even notice I've been moving money. I've got access to everything, the business accounts, the investments, even his crypto wallets. And the kids? They'll understand eventually. Daddy's not as perfect as they think. I watched my wife of 12 years laugh as she planned my destruction. The woman who'd stood beside me through every struggle, every late night building the business, every sacrifice we'd made together. She was selling me out like a used car. I grabbed my emergency bag, every CEO keeps one, and crept upstairs to the kids' rooms. Emma stirred as I lifted her. Daddy, what's wrong? We're going to Aunt Janine's for a few days. Special surprise. Jake was harder to wake, grumbling as I carried him to the car. Where's Mom? She's sleeping. We'll see her soon. The lie tasted like poison in my mouth. By 5 a.m., I had the kids safely at my sister Janine's house across town. She took one look at my face and knew better than to ask questions immediately. How long? She whispered as I tucked Jake into her guest bed. I don't know yet, but Janine, it's bad, really bad. She hugged me tight, and for the first time since Danny's call, I felt like I could breathe. Whatever you need, Alex, you know I've got your back. I drove to my office as the sun rose, my mind racing. Lena thought she was so clever, but she'd forgotten something crucial about her husband. Before I became a respectable CEO, I was a hacker. Not the Hollywood kind, the real kind. The kind who understood that information was the ultimate weapon and patience was the ultimate strategy. My office manager, Jane, was already at her desk when I arrived at 7 a.m. She'd been with North Tech since the beginning, a sharp-eyed woman in her 50s who missed nothing and trusted no one. You look like hell, boss. Jane, I need you to run a complete audit on all company accounts. Look for any unusual access, any transfers I didn't authorize. Her fingers were already flying across her keyboard. How far back? 6 months. 20 minutes later, she had her answer. Alex, someone's been accessing the secondary operating account. Small transfers, never more than $5,000 at a time. Always to an LLC called Wolf Holdings. Brandon Wolf, of course. How much total? $47,000. I felt the rage building in my chest, hot and focused. But I forced myself to stay calm. Anger was useful, but strategy was everything. Jane, I need you to change all the passwords on every account, everything. And I want you to set up monitoring on Lena's company email. Can you do that legally? She signed the family technology agreement when you upgraded her laptop last year. Technically, it's your equipment. Do it. My phone buzzed. A text from Lena. Where are the kids? Your sister won't tell me anything. I stared at the message for a long moment, then typed back. They're safe. We need to talk. Come home, now. I'll be there tonight. But I wasn't going home to reconcile. I was going home to begin the most important project of my life. The complete and total destruction of everyone who'd betrayed me. The war was about to begin. I spent the day building my arsenal, not weapons information. In my world, data was deadlier than any gun. Jane's audit revealed the full scope of Lena's betrayal. She hadn't just stolen from our business accounts. She'd been systematically photographing financial documents, copying client lists, and forwarding confidential company emails to her personal account, then forwarding them to Brandon. Boss, this is corporate espionage, Jane said, her voice tight with anger. She's been at it for 8 months. 8 months. While I was working 16-hour days to secure our biggest contract ever, my wife was selling our secrets to her boyfriend. My phone rang. Mason Cooper, my best friend since college and now a private security consultant. Alex, you sound terrible. What's going on? I told him everything, the footage, the theft, the betrayal. Mason listened without interruption, which was why we'd been friends for 20 years. Jesus, Alex, I'm sorry, man. What do you need? Information, background checks on Brandon Wolf, financial records if you can get them legally, and I need to know who else knows about this. Consider it done. But Alex, be careful. Guys like Wolf don't play fair when they're cornered. Neither do I. That evening, I drove home to face Lena. Our house looked exactly the same from the outside. Perfect landscaping, warm lights in the windows, the picture of suburban bliss. But I knew the rot that festered inside. Lena was waiting in the kitchen, the same kitchen where she betrayed me 12 hours earlier. She'd cleaned obsessively. I could smell the bleach from the doorway. Where are my children, Alex? Our children are somewhere safe. Safe from what? Their father having a mental breakdown? I had to admire her strategy. Immediate offense, make me the problem. But I'd spent all day preparing for this conversation. Safe from watching their mother destroy their family. Her mask slipped for just a moment. I saw the flash of panic in her eyes before the indignation returned. I don't know what you think you saw, but I saw you with Brandon Wolf in our kitchen at 3 a.m., planning to steal my business and abandon our children? The color drained from her face. Alex, I can explain. Explain what? How you've stolen $47,000 from our company? How you've been selling client information to your boyfriend? Or how you've been planning to leave me for months while pretending to be a loving wife? She sat down hard in one of our kitchen chairs. For a moment, I almost felt sorry for her. Almost. How long have you known? Since this morning. The question is, how long has everyone else known? That got her attention. What do you mean? Lena, we live in Millbrook. Population 12,000. You really think your affair was a secret? I was bluffing, but her reaction told me I was right. She'd been sloppy, and in a town like ours, sloppy meant everyone knew. I want a divorce, she said quietly. Of course you do, but it's not going to be the divorce you planned. What's that supposed to mean? I leaned against the counter where she'd betrayed me. It means I know about the money. I know about the corporate espionage. I know about your plans to take half of everything I've built while running off with Brandon. But here's what you don't know, Lena. I've been preparing for this conversation all day. Her phone buzzed. She glanced at it, and I saw her face go white. Problem? I asked. My email. It's not working. That's because I had it disable your access to all company systems. You're also blocked from our joint accounts pending a forensic audit. You can't do that. Actually, I can. You see, when you signed that technology agreement last year, you gave me administrative rights over all devices I pay for, including your laptop, including your phone, including access to every email you've sent in the past 8 months. She stood up so fast her chair fell over. You bastard. Careful, Lena. I'd hate for you to slip and hurt yourself. These floors can be so dangerous when they're wet. She stormed out, slamming the front door so hard the windows rattled. I watched her taillights disappear down our street, then pulled out my phone. Mason answered on the first ring. How'd it go? She's rattled. What did you find on Brandon? Oh, Alex, you're going to love this. Brandon Wolf isn't quite the successful businessman he pretends to be. His company's leveraged to the hilt. He's got 3 pending lawsuits from investors, and his ex-wife took him for everything in their divorce 2 years ago. So, he needs Lena's money. More than that, he needs your money. North Tech is probably his ticket out of bankruptcy. I felt a cold smile spread across my face. Then let's make sure he never gets it. What's the plan? First, we're going to let everyone in town know exactly what kind of people Lena and Brandon really are. Then we're going to make sure they lose everything they care about. Legal revenge? The only kind worth having. I hung up and walked through my house, seeing it with new eyes. This wasn't my home anymore. It was a crime scene, a place where my marriage had died and my real life had begun. Tomorrow, the counterattack would begin. The next morning, I drove to Rita's Diner, the unofficial information hub of Millbrook. Rita Castellano had been serving coffee and gossip for 30 years, and she knew every secret in town. Alex North, haven't seen you in weeks. The usual. Thanks, Rita, and maybe some conversation. She poured my coffee and leaned against the counter. You look troubled, honey. Everything okay at home? That's what I'm trying to figure out. Rita, you hear things. Has anyone been talking about Lena and me? Her expression shifted. Oh, sweetie, you don't know, do you? My stomach dropped. Know what? About Lena and that flashy real estate guy, Brandon something. They've been seen together all over town. Vivian Santos has been spreading stories about your personal problems. Vivian, Lena's best friend since college, a woman who treated gossip like currency and spent it freely. What kind of stories? Rita looked uncomfortable. Maybe you should talk to your sister about this. Rita, please, I need to know what people are saying. She sighed. Vivian's been telling everyone that you're not satisfying Lena, that you're too focused on work to be a proper husband. She says Lena's been lonely for years. The humiliation burned, but I forced myself to stay calm. And people believe this? Some do. But Alex, honey, most folks in this town know you're a good man. We've watched you build that business, raise those kids, support the community. Anyone with sense knows Vivian's just stirring the pot. I finished my coffee and left a generous tip. Thanks, Rita, for everything. Alex, whatever you're planning, be smart about it. Men like Brandon Wolf play dirty. So do I when I have to. My next stop was Janine's house to check on the kids and brief my most valuable ally. My sister had inherited our mother's sharp tongue and our father's strategic mind. If anyone could help me navigate the social warfare ahead, it was her. Uncle Alex? Jake launched himself at me as soon as I walked in. Are we going home today? Not yet, buddy, but soon. Emma was quieter, more perceptive. Is Mom in trouble? I knelt down to her level. Mom and I are having some grown-up problems. But whatever happens, you and Jake are the most important things in the world to me. Okay? She nodded solemnly and hugged me tight. Janine waited until the kids were watching cartoons before cornering me in her kitchen. Spill it. All of it. I told her about the affair, the theft, the humiliation campaign Vivian was running. Janine's face grew darker with each detail. That bitch, she said finally. Vivian always was poison, but this is low even for her. I need your help, Janine. You know everyone in this town. I need them to know the truth about what Lena's been doing. Consider it done. But Alex, are you sure you want to go to war? Once this starts, there's no going back. There's already no going back. Lena made sure of that when she decided to destroy our family. Janine smiled, and I recognized the expression. It was the same look she'd had as a kid when she was planning revenge on the neighborhood bullies. Then let's burn it all down. That afternoon, I met Mason at a coffee shop across town. He had a thick folder waiting for me. Brandon Wolf's entire life story, he said, sliding it across the table. And Alex, this guy's a piece of work. I flipped through the documents. 3 failed businesses, 2 bankruptcies, a history of affairs with married women, including the wife of his former business partner. Outstanding debts totaling over $2 million. He's a professional predator, Mason continued. He targets successful women, seduces them, then bleeds them dry. Lena's not his first victim, but she might be his last. What's the plan? I pulled out my phone and showed Mason a series of screenshots Jane had captured from Lena's email account. These are messages between Lena and Brandon planning to sell my client list to our biggest competitor. Corporate espionage is a federal crime, Mason, but I don't want him in prison. You want him destroyed. I want him to lose everything the same way he tried to make me lose everything. His reputation, his business prospects, his social standing. I want him to leave town in shame. Mason grinned. Now you're talking my language. What do you need? Tomorrow night is the annual Millbrook Business Association dinner. Everyone who matters in this town will be there, including Lena and Brandon. You're going to make your move in public? I'm going to give them exactly what they gave me, a front row seat to their own destruction. I spent the rest of the day preparing. Jane helped me compile a comprehensive dossier on both Lena and Brandon's crimes, financial, personal, and professional. Nothing illegal, nothing that couldn't be proven in court, but devastating nonetheless. That evening, Janine called with an update. "The network is activated," she said. "I had coffee with Sarah Mitchell, lunch with the Hendersons, and a very interesting conversation with Patricia Wolf." "Brandon's ex-wife?" "The very same. She's been living quietly in Springfield, but she had some fascinating stories about her ex-husband's business practices, such as how he convinced her to mortgage their house to fund his last company, then disappeared with the money and left her holding the debt. She lost everything, Alex. Her home, her savings, even her car." I felt a cold satisfaction. "Is she willing to talk publicly?" "She's willing to do more than that. Patricia Wolf wants revenge almost as much as you do." "Then let's give it to her." The pieces were falling into place. Tomorrow night, in front of the entire Millbrook business community, Lena and Brandon would learn what happened when you betrayed the wrong man. I went to bed that night in my empty house, but for the first time in weeks, I slept soundly. Justice was coming. The Millbrook Business Association dinner was held at the Riverside Country Club, a stuffy establishment that prided itself on old money and older secrets. I arrived fashionably late, wearing my best suit and the confidence of a man who held all the cards. Lena was there with Brandon, playing the role of the perfect couple. She wore a red dress I'd never seen before, probably bought with my stolen money. Brandon worked the room like he owned it, his expensive suit and practiced smile fooling no one who knew what to look for. But I wasn't the only one watching them. Patricia Wolf had driven up from Springfield and positioned herself strategically near the bar. At 52, she was elegant and sharp-eyed, with the bearing of a woman who'd survived betrayal and come out stronger. Janine had done her work well. I could see the whispered conversations, the pointed looks, the way people stepped aside when Brandon approached. The social tide was already turning. "Alex." Tom Richardson, president of the Business Association, approached with his usual politician's smile. "Good to see you. How's North Tech doing?" "Better than ever, Tom. We just signed the Morrison Industries contract." His eyes widened. Morrison Industries was the biggest employer in the county. "Congratulations. That's huge for the local economy." "I'm committed to this community, Tom. Always have been." I said it loud enough for nearby conversations to pause. Let them remember who actually contributed to this town while Brandon Wolf was bleeding it dry. "Alex!" Lena appeared at my elbow, her smile tight and artificial. "We need to talk." I think we said everything we needed to say. "Please, 5 minutes." I followed her to a quiet corner of the ballroom, aware that every eye in the room was tracking our movement. "You're destroying me," she whispered. "I'm revealing you. There's a difference. The kids need their mother. The kids need a mother they can respect. Right now, that's not you." Her mask slipped entirely. "You self-righteous bastard. You think you're so perfect? You think building a business makes you some kind of hero? I think being honest makes me better than a thief and a liar. I never stole anything." I pulled out my phone and showed her the bank records Jane had compiled. $47,000 transferred to Wolf Holdings over 8 months. "Want to explain that to the FBI?" She went pale. "Alex, please, I can fix this." "No, Lena, you can't. But you can make it easier on yourself by walking away quietly. And let you have everything? You should have thought about that before you decided to have everything yourself." Brandon appeared beside her, his hand possessive on her shoulder. "Is there a problem here?" I looked him up and down slowly, letting my contempt show. "Brandon Wolf, the man of the hour." "Alex, right? Lena's told me so much about you." "I'm sure she has. Just like Patricia told me so much about you." His confidence flickered. "Patricia?" I nodded toward the bar where his ex-wife was watching us with undisguised hatred. "Patricia Wolf, your ex-wife, the woman you left bankrupt and homeless. She's here tonight." Brandon's face went white. "What do you want?" "Justice." I walked away from them and approached the small stage where Tom Richardson was preparing to give his usual welcome speech. "Tom, could I have a moment? I'd like to make an announcement about North Tech's community involvement." "Of course, Alex. Always happy to hear from our local success stories." I took the microphone and looked out at the assembled crowd. 200 of Millbrook's most influential residents, all watching expectantly. Thank you all for coming tonight. As many of you know, North Tech has been part of this community for 8 years. We've grown from a 2-person startup to a 50-employee company, and we've always tried to give back to the town that supported us. Polite applause. I could see Lena and Brandon near the back, both looking like they wanted to run. But tonight, I want to talk about a different kind of community responsibility. The responsibility we have to protect each other from predators. The room went dead silent. 2 weeks ago, I discovered that someone had been stealing from my company. $47,000. Taken in small amounts over 8 months. The thief had access to our accounts because I trusted them completely. I could see people leaning forward, hungry for the details. The money was being transferred to a company called Wolf Holdings, owned by Brandon Wolf. The same Brandon Wolf who's been having an affair with my wife. Gasps echoed through the ballroom. I saw Vivian Santos drop her wine glass. But that's not the worst part. The worst part is that this isn't Brandon's first time targeting a married woman for financial gain. Patricia Wolf, his ex-wife, lost her home and her life savings to his schemes. She's here tonight, and she'll be happy to share her story with anyone who's interested. Brandon was pushing through the crowd toward the exit, but Mason appeared to block his path. My friend had positioned himself perfectly. Ladies and gentlemen, I'm sharing this not for sympathy, but as a warning. There are people who see our community as nothing more than a hunting ground. They target successful families, destroy marriages, and steal everything they can before moving on to the next town. I looked directly at Lena, who was frozen in place, tears streaming down her face. I built North Tech to serve this community. I raised my children to respect this community. I won't let anyone destroy what we've all worked to build. The applause was thunderous. I handed the microphone back to Tom and walked off the stage directly toward Brandon. You son of a bitch, he snarled. You just destroyed everything. No, Brandon, you did that when you decided to steal from me. I just made sure everyone knew about it. He took a swing at me. I'd been expecting it and stepped aside easily. Mason was there immediately, grabbing Brandon's arm and twisting it behind his back. I think it's time for you to leave, Mason said quietly. Brandon looked around the room, seeing nothing but hostile faces. Even his business associates had stepped away from him. This isn't over, he said. Yes, it is, I replied. It's been over since the moment you underestimated me. Security escorted Brandon out. Lena followed, her head down, avoiding eye contact with everyone. Patricia Wolf approached me as the crowd began to disperse. Thank you, she said simply. I've been waiting 2 years for someone to expose him. Thank you for coming. It couldn't have been easy. Easier than watching him destroy another family. Tom Richardson appeared at my shoulder. Alex, that was intense. But I think the community needed to hear it. I hope so, Tom. I really hope so. I left the country club that night knowing I'd won the first major battle. But the war wasn't over. Brandon Wolf was humiliated and exposed, but men like him didn't go quietly. I was about to learn just how dangerous a cornered predator could be. 3 days after the country club confrontation, Brandon made his move. I was working late at the office when the security system alerted me to movement at my house. The cameras showed Brandon's Mercedes in my driveway, and 2 figures approaching the front door. I called Mason immediately. They're at the house, Brandon and Lena. On my way. Don't go there alone, Alex. But I was already grabbing my keys. This was my property, my home, and I was done running. I arrived to find my front door standing open. The new security system I'd installed was flashing red. Someone had tried to disable it, but failed. I could hear voices from inside, angry and desperate. I called 911 first, then activated the recording function on my phone. Has to be here somewhere, Brandon's voice carried from my home office. I told you he keeps everything digital now, Lena replied, but there might be backup drives. We need something to prove he's been maltreating us, threatening us, anything to make him look like the bad guy. I smiled grimly. They were trying to manufacture evidence to frame me, but they'd forgotten about the security cameras that were recording their every word. I entered through the back door, moving quietly through my own house like an intruder. The irony wasn't lost on me. They were in my office, rifling through file cabinets and desk drawers. Lena had my laptop open, frantically clicking through folders. Find anything? I asked from the doorway. They spun around like guilty children. Brandon's face was flushed, his expensive suit wrinkled from desperation. Alex, thank God you're here, Lena said, immediately switching to her victim voice. Brandon forced me to come here. He's been threatening me, saying if I don't help him find dirt on you, he'll— Shut up, Lena, Brandon snapped. We're past the point of lying. You're right about that, I agreed. Way past it. Brandon stepped forward, trying to intimidate me in my own home. You think you're so smart, don't you? Destroying my reputation, turning the whole town against me? I didn't have to turn anyone against you, Brandon. I just had to tell them the truth. The truth? You want the truth? Your wife came to me. She begged me to help her get away from you. Said you were controlling, obsessive, that you made her feel like a prisoner in her own home. I looked at Lena, who couldn't meet my eyes. Is that what you told him? Alex, because the security cameras have been recording this entire conversation, including the part where you admitted to helping him steal from my company. Brandon's face went from red to white. You're bluffing. I pulled out my phone and played back their voices. We need something to prove he's been maltreating us, threatening us. You son of a bitch! Brandon lunged at me. I was ready for him this time. 8 years of running a business had kept me in decent shape, and Brandon was soft from too many expensive lunches. I sidestepped his charge and let his momentum carry him into my desk. He came up swinging, catching me in the ribs with a wild punch that hurt but didn't drop me. I grabbed his wrist and twisted, using leverage instead of strength to put him face down on my office floor. Get off him! Lena screamed, coming at me with a letter opener from my desk. I caught her wrist easily, took the makeshift weapon away, and pushed her back into a chair. Sit down, both of you, now! Brandon struggled to his feet, his nose bleeding from where he'd hit the desk. You can't hold us here. That's kidnapping. I'm not holding you anywhere, but you broke into my house, destroyed my property, and attacked me. The police are already on their way. As if summoned by my words, I heard sirens in the distance. Here's what's going to happen, I continued. You're both going to sit quietly until the officers arrive. Then you're going to explain why you broke into my home and tried to steal my personal files. We weren't stealing anything, Lena protested. I gestured to my laptop, still open with my financial files displayed. Really? Then why were you photographing my bank statements? Her phone was on the desk beside the laptop, camera apps still open. The evidence was undeniable. The police arrived with Mason right behind them. Officer Sarah Martinez had been in Janine's high school class, and she knew our family well. Alex, what happened here? I showed her the security footage, the photos on Lena's phone, and the evidence of their break-in. Brandon tried to claim they'd been invited, but the recording of their conversation proved otherwise. Mr. Wolf, you're under arrest for breaking and entering, attempted theft, and attack, Officer Martinez said, pulling out her handcuffs. This is ridiculous. I'm the victim here. This man has been stalking me, maltreating me, destroying my business. Sir, we have video evidence of you breaking into his home and attacking him. You can explain your side to the judge. As they led Brandon away, he turned back to me with pure hatred in his eyes. This isn't over, North. I'll destroy you if it's the last thing I do. It probably will be, I replied calmly. Lena wasn't arrested. Technically, she still lived here, but Officer Martinez made it clear she needed to leave immediately and not return without a court order. Alex, I'm sorry, she said as she gathered her things. I never meant for it to go this far. Yes, you did, Lena. You planned all of this. The only thing you didn't plan for was getting caught. She left without another word, and suddenly my house was quiet again. Mason helped me clean up the office while I called my lawyer. Brandon's finished, Mason said. Breaking and entering attack, the corporate espionage charges you're filing. He's looking at serious jail time. Good, but I want more than jail time. I want him gone. Permanently. The next morning brought the final piece of my revenge. Jane had been busy overnight, and she had news that made me smile for the first time in weeks. I sent copies of all our evidence to Brandon's remaining business partners, she said. They voted him out of Wolf Holdings this morning. He's also been dropped by his lawyer, his accountant, and his insurance company. What about his other assets? Frozen pending the criminal investigation. The man's completely broke, Alex. He can't even make bail. I leaned back in my office chair, feeling a deep satisfaction. And Lena? Vivienne Santos fired her from the PR firm. Apparently, having an employee who commits corporate espionage is bad for business. She's also being evicted from the apartment she rented after leaving your house. The kids? Safe with Janine. Emma's been asking when she can come home. Home. It was time to rebuild what Brandon and Lena had tried to destroy. That evening, I drove to Janine's house to collect my children. They ran to me like I'd been gone for months instead of days. "Daddy, are we going home now?" Jake asked. "Yes, buddy, we're going home." "What about Mom?" Emma's question was quieter, more careful. "Mom made some bad choices, sweetheart. She's going to have to live somewhere else for a while." "Is it because of that mean man who was yelling at you?" I knelt down to Emma's level. "How did you know about that?" "Aunt Janine told us. She said Mom was helping a bad man try to steal from you." I looked at Janine, who shrugged. "They're smart kids, Alex. They deserved an age-appropriate version of the truth." "Is Mom going to jail?" Jake asked. "No, buddy. But she can't live with us anymore." "Good," Emma said firmly. "She was mean to you." Out of the mouths of babes. We went home that night, really home, for the first time in weeks. I made pancakes for dinner because I could, and we watched movies until the kids fell asleep on the couch. I carried them to their beds, tucked them in, and stood in the hallway of my house, breathing freely for the first time since Danny's phone call. 2 weeks later, Brandon Wolf pled guilty to all charges in exchange for a reduced sentence. He served 6 months in county jail and was ordered to pay full restitution. When he was released, he left Millbrook immediately and never returned. Lena moved to Boston and took a job with a small marketing firm. She sees the kids every other weekend, but the relationship is strained. They remember who stood by them when everything fell apart. Patricia Wolf sent me a thank you card with a simple message: "Justice served." I kept it on my desk as a reminder that sometimes the good guys really do win. 6 months after that nightmare began, I was working late in my office when Jane knocked on my door. "Boss, there's someone here to see you." Danny from Secure Home Systems stood in my doorway, looking nervous but determined. "Mr. North, I wanted to apologize for not calling sooner. What I saw that night? I should have warned you months ago." "Danny, you saved my life, my kids' lives. You have nothing to apologize for. I've been in this business 15 years, and I've seen some terrible things, but I've never seen someone handle it the way you did. You didn't just get revenge. You got justice." I shook his hand. Sometimes they're the same thing. After he left, I sat alone in my office, thinking about everything that had happened. Brandon had underestimated me because he saw what he wanted to see. A distracted businessman too focused on work to notice his wife's betrayal. Lena had underestimated me because she thought she knew me better than anyone. They were both wrong. I wasn't just a CEO or a husband or a father. I was a man who understood that information was power, patience was strength, and justice was worth fighting for. The security cameras were gone now. I didn't need them anymore. But I kept the footage from that first night, the night that changed everything, not to torture myself, but to remember. Sometimes the most important moment in your life is the one that destroys everything you thought you knew about yourself. Sometimes you have to lose everything to discover what you're really capable of. And sometimes, just sometimes, the good guys win.